proud welcome. I've called you here today. This is a mic check. Just kidding. Just kidding. You got it? Got it? Okay.
All right, aloha everyone. Hi, I'm Melissa Kinbrooker.
Aloha, everyone. A couple quick comments before our experts come up. I just want to thank you all. So many people, whether it's the prosecutor's office, AG's office, our human services champions, our legislative leaders. Thank you, law enforcement, for what is very hard work. And thank you, families, for sometimes sharing your stories with us about what is a very, very dangerous circumstance, which is that we are very vulnerable in Hawaii to human trafficking. And so we are coming here today to talk about the specifics of what happens in our state. We affirm our commitment to combat this crime, and it is horrific because the heartbreaking truth is that Native Hawaiian keiki are disproportionately affected by human trafficking. And we've heard the stories in the neighbor islands, very young girls getting taken, people go missing. And it's hard. It's a hard crime to prosecute. So we're going to hear from our experts. It's devastating to think that this beautiful home, this paradise, is a place where our most vulnerable children can be taken. So every child, from our perspective, deserves to live in a space of safety. I remember many times that I wondered when young patients were fleeing into the emergency department, what were they fleeing from? And were they trying to flee to safety? And I seem to have that vibe far too often. And I think it's borne out now by the data that I've been presented by experts. So thank you for fighting, this unacceptable crime. We've got dedicated advocates today, law enforcement, survivor leaders, service providers, community members. So I mahalo everyone, specifically the Hawaii Human Trafficking Prevention Program. They put countless hours into the mission. So this is an issue that thrives in the shadows, where people take advantage of those who are most vulnerable. We have to raise awareness because people get hooked on drugs. They become subject to abduction. They may have broken homes, and they don't trust or are unable to rely on historically protective figures. These are all some of the challenges that we see. So I'm grateful that our law enforcement is aware and training people and making this a priority. We will continue to make it more of a priority as we learn how to combat the crime. We'll sign a proclamation today, but it's solemn, because this proclamation comes after so many young women have been taken. And we may not get them all back. So we'll dedicate this month, and we'll dedicate ourselves to working on this challenge. So mahalo everybody for coming together. I'll sign this at the end, and it'll say a few more specifics. But all I can really say is, as a father with a daughter, and a young son for that matter, it is a scary thing. It's a scary thing. And what I've heard as far as the ages of children that are taken, no one is necessarily safe. So if I can appeal to everyone out there, please help make our community safer. If you have any worry about someone in your community that may seem to be under the control of someone else and it doesn't seem right, speak up. Speak up to families and friends and neighbors, and speak up to law enforcement, even just to make a check so we can make sure things are okay. So thank you, community, for that work, and I will now turn it over to the experts. Aloha.
Thank you, Governor. At this time, I'd like to introduce David Van Acker, Supervising Deputy Attorney General for Special Investigation and Prosecution Division.
The Attorney General's Special Investigation and Prosecution Division has two main focuses. We investigate and prosecute corruption, fraud, and economic crime, and relevant to today's ceremony, human trafficking. First, I'd like to specifically recognize the governor for using the power of his office to bring public awareness to this important issue that impacts our most vulnerable communities. Second, I'd like to specifically recognize our Human Trafficking Abatement Coordinator, Deborah Diane Bowen-Coleman. She has, while the governor has used the megaphone of his office, Dr. Bowen-Coleman has done a grassroots approach. She has done numerous activities during the course of Human Trafficking Awareness Month, rubbing shoulders with our community members. She's conducted a resource fair with members of our community. She's conducted a lunch and learn speaker series designed to educate and promote awareness to members within our community. And finally, on January 30th, she will be hosting a candlelight vigil here at the Capitol for victims and survivors of this horrendous crime. Finally, I'd like to specifically recognize the fact that law enforcement from across our state has come here today. That symbolizes the importance that law enforcement treats this issue, and it also reflects the collaboration and cooperation throughout our islands as we try to fight this issue for the members of our community.
Thank you, David. Next, please welcome Representative Linda Ichiyama.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor Green, for allowing me to be here. It's been tremendous to be able to partner with all of your departments, the entire executive branch, as well as our county partners on how to address the challenging and sometimes very disturbing issue of human trafficking in Hawaii. You know, many times I talk with community members and they're shocked to hear that human trafficking occurs here in the beautiful Aloha State. And unfortunately, it's a reality that we have to deal with. As a member of the Women's Legislative Caucus, we've worked closely with the administration to make sure that our human trafficking laws are the strongest that they can be. And actually, Hawaii in 2016 was the last state to pass a specific law to ban sex trafficking. But with that passage of that law, all 50 states have recognized the crime of both sex trafficking and human trafficking. Since then, we've also worked closely with the administration to toughen our criminal laws to make sure that we recognize that the victims of trafficking are victims and not criminals, to provide opportunities for them to expunge their records and to start a new life. We also in the legislature have supported the creation of the Special Investigative Prosecution Division, the creation of the Human Trafficking Abatement Coordinator, and then most recently we passed a law that will require data collection and reporting across all of our state agencies. We know that the issue of human trafficking is multifaceted, and we need to collect as much data and information as possible so that we can make sure the policies and laws that we're passing are meeting those needs and having the right effect. So thank you very much, Governor, for all of the partnership and work. We hope to continue this collaboration into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Ichiyama. Next, please welcome our Honolulu Prosecuting Attorney, Stephen Owen.
It is so important to have events like this because if you ask the average person in Hawaii, they are totally unaware of this. And human trafficking, sex trafficking is horrendous. For adults, it takes away their freedom. For our kids, it takes away their childhood. And there's no such thing as 14-year-old prostitutes. They are 14-year-old rape victims. And even when they get rescued or they rescue themselves, Going to a foster home situation is not enough. You need to have services, you need to have support for them to do that. And from a law enforcement perspective, arresting and prosecuting may be one good outcome, but just helping a kid get out of the trafficking world is a win in and of itself. And if they don't want to participate in prosecutions, that's fine. When they do, we want to support them doing this. And our office did a case against a pimp. Pimps are in this to make money, and they can make a lot of money. And so this pimp, Marquise Green, had trafficked these two teenage girls. He then got busted. He then repeatedly delayed his trial for years by continuing to fire his defense attorney. We had one of our top prosecutors, Isla Weiss, on the case. She worked with the police department. She worked with both Susanna Wesley and Hole and Apua, and these two survivors came back. They were living on the mainland now. They're in their 20s, came back, testified in court against Mr. Green. He got convicted of Class A's. At our request, the judge gave him 40 years in prison. Yeah, right. So we want to make this as inhospitable a place as possible for the pimps. And at the same time, echoing the words you've heard already, caring for our kids, knowing where they are. If you see, they get hustled at school, they get hustled at the mall, trying to help them realize if an older guy is trying to pay attention to you, you really got to watch out for this. And finally, taking care of our keiki, let's all work together like we've done here today, and we all have our part to do, but by working together, I hope we can really do a good job in putting a dent in this. So thank you very much. Thank you, the AGs, the governor, and the legislature for putting all this together. Thank you.
Mahalo, Stephen. Our last speaker will be Honolulu Police Department Narcotics and Vice Division Captain Jerome Picaro.
Aloha and good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the governor for allowing me to say a few words today. Next, I would like to thank the Attorney General's office, the Honolulu prosecutors, our partnering agencies, and all our community partners for their hard work and dedication in addressing this critical issue. Human trafficking is one of the most repulsive crimes one human can commit on another. Traffickers use fear, shame, and oppression to exploit their victims. Every year we come together to shine light on this crucial issue, to let the community know if you are a victim of human trafficking, we are all here to help you. In closing, here's my message to those who promote and profit from human trafficking. The Honolulu Police Department's Narcotics Vice Division will work day and night to bring you to justice. We will follow every lead, every tip, no matter the cost, to bring you to justice. And when we do bring you to justice, the full extent of the law will be applied. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to welcome Governor Green and our key stakeholders or speakers to come up and join him behind the podium for signing the proclamation.
Thank you, guys. So what I'll do is I'll read a couple of the highlights because a lot of the most important information has been shared. This proclamation, which we're signing here in January of 25, marks the 15th anniversary of the Human Trafficking Awareness Month program. It's meant to be an opportunity for us to share just the serious nature of these crimes. It's also the 25th anniversary of the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which established a three-pronged approach to combat human trafficking, including prevention, protection, and prosecution. But people have to know how serious it is. It is just far too common. Traffickers use force, they use fraud, they use coercion, as our good police officers shared, but also they target individuals who are already vulnerable in the child welfare and juvenile justice systems. Children in foster care are vulnerable. Missing and homeless youths are often the most vulnerable, which is why we focus so much on this challenge. And, while we're very committed to making sure that we find homes for our younger keiki, Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are at heightened risk, as was shared. People with substance abuse issues are also at great risk. Really what you're hearing is the pattern of people who are socioeconomically prone can get scooped up by terrible people and then trafficked. We have hotlines that help. We have had so much great work that's been done over the years to combat human trafficking, but only when it comes into the light will we be able to truly protect victims and help get people into the deep prosecution from our excellent prosecutor. So we say here, whereas human trafficking can be prevented by awareness and building personal, community, and societal understanding and resiliency of these social inequities, we will address the conditions that contribute to exploitation. It is why, when we talk about the economics of our state, it is why that is part of our vision, to stop these kind of crimes. It says also here, whereas the Hawaii Department of the Attorney General, law enforcement agencies, community organizations, and dedicated residents, the people that are neighbors, are working together to increase awareness, support victims and survivors, and bring traffickers to justice. They are the worst vermin that would do this, and therefore we come together for the Human Trafficking Awareness Month. I may not have had the word vermin in the original and official proclamation, but that is true. So, yes, in honor of those who do this work, we encourage all residents to join in activities and programs and increase awareness, promote advocacy, support efforts to combat human trafficking, and help everyone in our communities. We're doing this here at the state capitol, and I'm honored to be just a small part of your great work. Thank you, everyone. Yes, and here we go. Melissa, was there going to be any questions from people with these experts here? What's your pleasure? Okay, but we'll do some. I'll make myself available later for some things. Okay. Okay. Thank you.